Big dog.
Oh, when they,
Good. Yes. I'm glad you got that door shut.
You think this is a good thing. The cops are there to help. And then they show up and demand to go through your house. Oh, I love your dog, by the way.
they didn't demand to go through my house. They went through it. I wasn't there.
I know you weren't. And
Yeah.
you have a child that's not old enough, according to them, is not old enough to make a decision to walk a mile to a store. But he can give them permission to violate your Fourth Amendment right. I wonder how that they justify that.
Yeah, you may have missed the one body cam that they actually talked to the grandfather who lives in the in-law suite downstairs, and he unknowingly was like, sure, as if it's no big deal. That's another area where most Americans don't realize you try to cooperate, thinking by cooperating somehow this is going to lessen the impact of law enforcement. They're not your friends and they're not there to help. They're there to find something that they can then use against you.
After watching that body cam, Britt, Ethan and his older brother Devin is 17. And we sat there and had a long discussion as if they didn't already know. Under no circumstances do you ever invite police officers into our home.
Yep. And exactly. That's a conversation that I had to go back and have with all of my children. And
Something a parent doesn't think they need to teach their kids.
Yeah, I'd never had that conversation with my kids before because, and really they'd never had any interaction with law enforcement other than maybe like a school resource officer or something like that. We don't have any direct family in law enforcement. So, but even still, you know, I mean, it had always been people that were there to help you, to keep us safe. And so I never had that conversation of don't answer their questions, don't let them in the house. But I had to go back and do that with all of my kids. So even for the ones that weren't the ones that got the ride home in the police car, just having them come arrest me and seeing that happen to their mom, you know, it's definitely affected them. My oldest daughter who drives, you know, she's been very nervous whenever she passes a police officer or gets behind a police officer. And even for me, listen, the lady that arrested me was behind me driving down the road yesterday for like 2 miles. And the whole time I'm like, you know, because I know she knows it's me. She knows my car.
And they can really shake you up.
Yeah, I was paranoid, you know,
yeah.
I was trying to make sure I didn't even go a mile over the speed limit, didn't give it, you know, so yeah, it's affected all of us.
Tell everybody about how Soren feels about going to the high school football games.
Oh yeah. So he used to love my oldest daughter who's 16. She's in the marching band. And so I always go volunteer in the concession stand because it's a big fundraiser for the band. And the kids, you know, run around and play at the football games, you know, unsupervised, of course, with all the other kids, you know.
But are they out of your sight for more than an hour?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, along with all the other kids. But there's usually about 4 or 5, you know, sheriffs there. A couple of them are the school resource officers because I think they have to, you know, take turns being at events and stuff. But anyway, so Soren used to love to come. It was one of his favorite things to do, you know, because he was homeschooled. He would get to see some of his old public school friends. He'd get to eat at the concession stand because he loved to eat. So he refused to go after that because he said there was too many sheriffs at the football games and he didn't want to be around sheriffs anymore. So for him in particular, he no longer trusts law enforcement. He no longer thinks that they're there to help. And honestly, I would worry that if he ever actually did need their help one day, would he even call them? I don't, you know, he's been pretty affected by it. So.
And we have listeners worldwide. If this is going on in the United States, that is supposed to be the land of the free, what is going on across Europe? What's going on in some of these other countries that are listening to us? But, you know, not all of this happens for free. So make sure, click on the link in the show notes and make sure you look up Parents USA. They could definitely use your support. Parents USA is the national organization that comes in and represents people like Brittany